it's Al from Local Tiny Factory, and in this episode we're going to talk about number one tool for business planning. Ready for radical business improvement? Hop on! Business Model Canvas, in my opinion, is the best tool for effective, fast business planning, both for new and existing companies. It is used by giants like Coca-Cola, General Electric, and Lego to design, test, build, and manage their business models. Meet the person behind the Business Model Canvas idea, Alexander Osterwalder.
It's about 9 building blocks. 9 building blocks that allow you to describe or design every business model you can imagine.
Alexander is the co-founder of Strategizer. He is one of the writers behind famous business model generation book, and overall a very influential modern business consultant, awesome speaker, and I genuinely admire his work. But interestingly enough, I have found out about the canvas not from him, but from this guy. Steve Blank is also a great business speaker and author. It's from one of his courses that I've gotten introduced to this amazing tool. So with this being said, what is so useful about Business Model Canvas after all? Isn't this just another kind of a business plan? Not really. It turns out that you can have the best business plan in the world, but if you don't have a good business model to support it, it may not even survive the first contact with the customer. Model is the heart and soul of your company. Business plan is just something you're going to do with it once it's alive and kicking. You may and have to plan future financial decisions, but if those core 9 sections of your business model are not well composed, everything else is just a waste of resources. Therefore, we need to get our business model right, and it has to materialize in some tangible form to be then tested, compared, and improved, not just be left on some napkin. Alright, but how to do it in practice? I would argue that it's not enough to simply have this common business model canvas template. You can find the links for downloadable printable version as well as online version of the canvas in the description below, but what you really need is to ask and answer some specific questions regarding each of the sections of your business model in order for this canvas to work. Now we will go through those questions step by step, and you will see how useful it actually is. First of all, we have to start somewhere, so where do we start? It's important to start with customer segments, as those are the people who are going or not going to pay you depending on how well you know them. Client-centered approach is the most powerful modern trend in marketing, and there is a strong reason for that. So, customer segments. The questions to ask here are: who are your customers? What is their role or status? What size of market do they represent? Are those customers users or do they buy for someone else? And what is important both for payers and users? Because you see, not always payers are the users. For example, Google has 2 main customer segments: average people who are just using the service, and companies that pay for the ads that Google provides for them. Next section to review is the value proposition of your company. When customer segments and value proposition are paired, they're like this independent variable that defines how the rest of your model will look. The questions to ask here are: what is the actual value you deliver to the customer? Which one of your customers' problems are you helping to solve? And of course, what bundles of products and services are you offering to each of your customer segments? If you are just starting a business, of course, it's harder to make the right predictions for your business model. And it's normal. Don't worry for not being sure about certain points. Later you will be able to test them and refine. Just write down the assumptions, prioritize them, and then you can figure out the quickest and cheapest way to prove or disprove them. But now let's move on to the third section. Customer relations. So how does the customer interact with you? Can customer call you or at least email you? Can he come to your office? And the most importantly, how are you going to build this initial contact with him? So the main questions to ask here are: how do you get the customers? How do you keep the customers? How do you develop the existing customer base? What type of relationship does each of your customer segments expect you to establish and maintain with them? And of course, which ones are already established if you are an existing company? If you are a startup, be sure to note down those critical assumptions and then validate both your segments and their relationship to the propositions. Fourth section of your model is channels. Channels is everything that you do not own but rent or simply use for free to communicate your proposition to your segments. Third-party services like call centers, shipping services, repair centers, PR companies, social media, in other words, all that you use to communicate with your customer should be listed here. Critical questions here are, first, through which channel do your customer segments want to be reached? Then, how are you reaching them now if you're an existing company? How are your channels integrated? Which ones work the best? Which ones are the most cost efficient? The next section is the one that needs the least introduction, I think. It's revenue streams. Ask yourself for what value your customers are willing to pay you. For what do they currently pay if you're an existing company? How would they prefer to pay? How much does each revenue stream contribute to overall revenues? And which pricing model are you actually using? What is fixed pricing? What is dynamic or negotiated pricing? And last but not least, how sensitive is your market to price changes? Maybe you can charge more, or you should charge less. Then goes infrastructure, and we move towards the key resources section. So the main questions to ask here are, what are the physical informational resources that you require? Maybe some intellectual resources like patents, licenses, and of course every company needs people. So what human resources, some maybe experts, specialists do you require? Those are the people and resources that will help you accomplish the key activities. So the next section is key activities, and here it's really simple. It goes like this. You have to know that you have certain key activities that your value proposition requires. What are those? What key supportive activities are required by it? Not always you're going to do all of those activities yourself, but you have to note them down in order to be able to outsource them to someone later. So here we are moving to the next section, the key partners. Who are your key partners and suppliers of resources and data? Which key resources do you acquire from them? Which key activities do your partners perform already? How dependent are you from them? What risks are associated? Of course, all of this is associated with cost. The more partners you have, the more activities, the more people you hire. So let's talk about cost structure. You have to know what adds the most cost in your model. Which key resources and activities are the most expensive? What are the fixed costs, for example, salaries, rents, utilities, and what are the variable costs? Is your business more cost-driven or value-driven, focused on low-cost structure or on premium value creation? You know, there is a difference between the real cost, perceived costs, and so on. So that's it. Ask and answer those questions, dig deeper into assumptions, document them, and then test and improve. Doing this on a consistent basis will ensure that you're always keeping your business model updated. And overall, it's just a great tool to prevent possible future problems and allocate new growth opportunities. Thank you for watching, and before we wrap up, I want to mention this video's sponsor and my hosting of choice, SiteGround. Fastest and most reliable hosting I've tried, starting just from $3.95 per month. They offer a free SSL certificate and a free website migration that usually costs up to $200 in case of other providers. So check them out and you will know why I'm not searching for any other hosting provider anymore. Stay tuned for the new videos and have a successful day!